As we hear the words and sing the carols that span hundreds of years, our purpose tonight is to experience in our contemporary lives the story and promise that repeats the intention of sounding joy. My offering on Christmas Eves at Bloom is to bring a few contemporary words through thoughts and readings that speak to us and encourage us and reinforce the message of the celebration of Messiah's birth. I hope this helps us connect to the relevance of the ancient story, which is often sentimentalized and yet was originally received as a call to living well in a hardscrabble life. Last December 5th in 2015, one of my United Methodist clergy mentors who was with us on Christmas Eve a few years ago, his name is Fred Morris, and he was a pastor in the Broadway United Methodist Church for some of the years when I was there and some of the years when I was in the church and some of the years when I was outside of the church. Fred wrote the following insight in 2015. The basic point of genuine Christianity, originally known as followers of the way, is that the figure called Jesus in the four Gospels revealed the basic personality of the Creator, also known as the Force. The important point is that personality is characterized by infinite love toward the creation and the creatures. And the reality of this understanding is proven by the existence of the church. For even with its many faults and distortions and abuses, throughout the centuries, a faithful remnant in the church has consistently proclaimed the message of the infinite and unconditional love the Creator has for creation and all us creatures. The message is not dependent on anyone's proving or disproving the existence of a man named Jesus. Furthermore, members of that church, the real followers of the way, have lived out the reality of that unconditional and infinite love in many ways, even while the institutional church has all too often denied the same love in and by its practices. This is why the church has endured for 2,000 years, surviving even the damage done by its own leaders and followers as they denied in practice what is proclaimed by the message. What we're seeing today is a growing group of young people rejecting the betrayals to the message by the institutional churches. But there are many signs that those same young people are increasingly intrigued by the message and those who are really seeking to follow it, the message of unconditional and infinite love. Galen Gobin is the director of grief programs at Forest Lawn Mortuaries in Southern California. Galen is a Christian Church Disciples of Christ minister. I consider him a colleague. I think from time to time he thinks of me in the same way. Recently he posted an observation and then granted me permission to use it tonight when I asked. It's titled, "Notes on a Sunday Morning," written and posted on Thursday due to a very active week. I sat down at my desk this morning to a priority mail envelope. Inside was an envelope that contained a beautiful Christmas card with a dove on the front and the word peace beneath the dove. And inside the card was one of the doves that Forest Lawn sends out with our annual candle lighting service invitations. That dove is offered for people to write the name of their loved ones on it and then to be placed on a tree of memory that we have at the service to honor the memory of those who have died in the year before and before that. This one had been beautifully decorated with a picture of leafless trees standing against an overcast sky. and the names of the dead who this person was remembering were written in the gray sky. This person was from out of the area and not able to attend, and had sent this hoping that the dove could be placed on the tree of memory at the upcoming service, which of course we do and we did. Then my eye drifted to the upper corner of the express mail envelope, which told me that almost $25 had been spent in order to send this dove. I was overcome with the love that all of this represented. With a grateful heart and a deep joy at being part of this, I called the sender to confirm that we had the dove and would place it upon the tree. And that is Christmas at its most basic presentation. The extravagant lengths that God goes to in order to express love to us, in the hope that we will receive a gift that offers peace and births joy within our heart. Merry Christmas. Now, watching the news lately, it occurred to me last week that the range runs from coincidental to ironic. When we remember that the reason pregnant Mary and expectant Joseph were required to make their way to Bethlehem, the reason was a new tax plan. The census was needed to know how many people there were and where they were, so the Roman government could find them and tax them. It is not loose thinking to see the writer's plot device and political motivation to insert the story of a Savior arriving in the midst of the news about a tax. Taxes are double-edged swords. The procedures and cost can control people. The procedures and cost can control people, and the revenue can benefit them. It all depends on which side of the ledger we find ourselves. Reverend Tracy Blackman is Executive Minister of Justice and Witness Ministries in the national setting of the United Church of Christ. In her recent Christmas message, she wrote in part, "Lately, the wonder has been difficult to fathom and the miracles more difficult to see, but they are still happening. The miracles of joy and love and peace and hope are still springing forth. Amidst the confusion and the mean-spiritedness of our days, the Spirit of the Christ child is still being born again and again. We are beneficiaries of hope incarnate. We who wait in this Advent season with great anticipation, who are breathed and born in hope of the coming of the Christ child, we must expect joy. We must expect love. We must expect peace. We must expect the inbreaking of Christ among us. We must expect light to show up in the midst of darkness. We must expect peace to show up in the turbulence of our storms. We must expect hope to show up in desolate places. We must expect generosity to show up where scarcity abounds. We must expect life to spring forth from where death has been pronounced." These reflections may touch our hearts with the message this season is meant to convey. Traditionally speaking, 2017 years have passed. Contemporary observations tell us the intentions are not complete. Still, there are signs of goodness of life. And those are cracks meant to let in the light, the peace, the hope, the generosity, and the life that our force has been generating eternally. From now on, I encourage all of us to look for those signs and make some of them ourselves. And then do what we can to magnify their effect in the world. Eventually, the message will have its way, one way or another. That's the good news. Merry Christmas. Thanks be to God.